everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the American Scouser podcast. We are joined by Tahir Karabaş from Turkey, from the official Liverpool Supporter Club in Turkey. Tahir, welcome to the show.
Hello, Timuçin. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh no, I mean it's our pleasure. This is probably the first time we're doing this kind of a bigger fundraising in connection with like all that, like the sponsors and especially Anfield Shops. A special thanks to them. So obviously you are originally in Istanbul, correct?
Actually, I'm originally from Malatya, where the earthquake also happened. But when I was a kid, my family moved to Istanbul, and for 40 years I have been living in Istanbul.
Okay, but is the supporter club based in Istanbul, or is it throughout?
Yes.
I know it's under Turkey, but
we are based in Istanbul, but we have also many members in Bursa, Ankara, Izmir, in big cities. And when there is big games, they gather also on those cities, but mainly from Istanbul.
I gotcha. Okay. So obviously we want to mainly talk about, we've been talking about doing this for a long time. It was more going to be about the supporters club, about Liverpool and stuff like that. But obviously with the recent stuff, there's a lot more important things happening. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard of the earthquake. You were recently down there. You actually just came back to Istanbul. You guys made a trip over there, and actually let me share the image right here as well. At least not with my face, but let's do it like this. And then you guys like just dropped off a huge donation through Official Supporters Club and Born in Red as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what you saw and like what state the area is in right now?
Sure. Actually, I lived two big earthquakes in '99. There was another big earthquake in Turkey, in Kocaeli, and this is the second biggest one I witnessed. But this last one is much bigger than the 1999 one. This earthquake affected like 10 big cities. So we went to 3 cities with my friend Mutlu yesterday. We went to first Maraş, which is the center of the earthquake. Then we went to Antep, and then the Antakya, which is the Syrian border. But what I have seen, the worst place is the Syrian border, Antakya area. I have never seen such a destroyed city in my life like that. Basically, the whole city is collapsed, everything. Maraş also, the center was like that. But some of the cities, like big cities, like people don't know them, but Adana, Antep, there is very small, how can I say, harm, not like the others.
Yeah, because they were like a bit further away, but obviously the epicenter was in like Maraş and that area there.
Exactly. And I think what I hear from my friends, also in Syria, the damage is very, very bad in Syrian area. And because of the war, also people cannot help, or they cannot search, or you cannot send the help. So probably it will be more problematic there.
Yeah, I think, the war, the whole policies and stuff like that, you would think in a case like this, that will be put aside, but sadly, this is the way the world works somehow. And I think the infrastructure-wise, I think Turkey had a leg up on that area right there, just because these were major cities. I mean, they're big cities. I think people don't understand that for that area, they were the biggest cities.
Yeah, this affects almost like 15 million people directly with these 10 cities. And couple of them are very industrial city. Now people don't talk about in the future economically also it will affect the country very badly.
And let's talk about that, because obviously, I mean, being here in the US, we see the news. I'm a lot closer to it, obviously being Turkish, but for like the average person here following it, you see the earthquake, you see the devastation. I mean, you see the number of deaths, and you see some good stories of people being found alive. But sadly, with every person found alive, then you have to put in the picture that they probably lost their entire family and things like that. But what happens is after a while, it starts to get forgotten. Whereas those people there right now are like living in tents. And so what is mainly needed when you were there? What is something that you see? What is going to be needed over there for these people to go back to their normal lives as, like, I'm putting it in quotes.
Right now it's very early because people are still under the shock of the earthquake and they don't know what they will need, but what they need, I think, will be like safe containers or shelters, because tents is not easy to live, especially these areas in the summertime, very, very hot area, especially Hatay, Antalya, and the others, very, very hot area, almost Syrian border. And I think in a couple of weeks when the summer comes, the health issues will be a big problem. Diseases will be a big problem. So what they will need, I think, mostly safe areas to live, and they need something to do. I think that will be the biggest problem, because some of the cities, like, they became like ghost towns. Everybody left the cities. So I don't know if they will come back or not. But even the people who stay there, there's nothing to do for them. You cannot spend all day empty by doing nothing. So what I will need, I don't know what they will need, but a safe shelter, definitely. A good structure of water and toilet system, because it will be very important. And a good and tasty way food system, because right now they are all eating ready foods, like biscuits, packets,
Oh yeah.
but they will need cooked stuff. So I don't know how they will solve it.
How did your guys' donation came about? Because like I was sharing earlier, you guys just dropped off the shipment and you guys had to drive all the way down there, because we were texting back and forth as you guys were driving, which is like a really long drive. So, I mean, awesome for you guys to do that and the supporter club to do that. But how did that come about?
Okay, one of our member, Ulfan, who is also founder of our Turkish Liverpool group, he is now living in London for 3 months, and he met some people there who wants to make donations, and they are like a foundation, but they are also part of the Liverpool group. So they contacted us, and we asked them what we can do. They came also 3 different guys, but main guy is called Sajat. He came here, we met him a couple of times, and we talked what we to do. So what I understand, they contributed almost 200,000 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And they wanna make donation every week, continuously, not just one time. So make it continuous. So they gave us the money, and we told them what we will buy, made a big list, and we drove. But we choose areas where to go. They choose also area. So the biggest problem on this earthquake place, I think, people don't know how to help and where to go to help.
Yes.
Still, there is no, how can I say, good system. Because I saw couple of cities, so many donations left there and gone. Especially clothes, water, and other things, nobody take it. Because it's so many. On the other hand, some places has nothing.
Oh, okay. I got
it. But I think in a couple of weeks, government will solve it, and it will be a better system.
I think, when we do the donation, it's going to go to organizations that can kind of coordinate that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it should help. But I think that's a good point, that instead of donating once, they're going to be donating regularly, because I feel like there's probably a lot of aid coming in now, but a month from now, those people are still going to need, shelter and food and all that kind of stuff.
I think, Timuçin, it will be the biggest problem, because now in Turkey, everybody helps. Unbelievable help there. But a month later, people will forget. Mm-hmm. And I think instead of sending all in one time, I think it should be continuously, but enough, what they need.
Are there a lot of organizations there? I know, orders and stuff like that.
I saw many UN. I saw also many Qatari and Dubai organizations. I saw also from all around the world donations coming, trucks like Poland. I saw Hungary. I saw France. And also in Turkey, there are many foundations. Some of them are with government, some of them are without government. Also, there's a big group now called Ahbab. Maybe you heard it.
Yes.
It's also now big discussion also in the country. That's the unlucky part of Turkey. They are also helping a lot. But what I see, I think I'm really proud of being from this country. Even we are not in a good situation economically. Really, there is everything. People send everything they found.
Yeah, I think it takes something like this to bring out to humanity and realize there are more important things than money and all that kind of stuff.
Also, I think one thing is about our country, because we know that nothing will come from government. So we have to help each other.
Yeah,
I think,
only have to be Turkish to understand that,
yes, yes,
unfortunately.
I think only we can understand it.
Yeah, that's
Unfortunately.
unfortunate, but it's true. And I
Yes,
know, I
yes,
think that's the biggest problem, and that's why when we donate, we wanted to make sure it's going to good organizations, because I think a lot of people with anything, not only this scenario, but when we donate, we're
yes,
always so skeptical. There is so much corruption in
yes,
every part of
unfortunately.
society. Like people, when we donate, especially when you're donating over here from the US, you want to make sure it's going to the people who are
Yes,
actually going to need it.
exactly. It's the most important, actually.
And
We should
so,
do it.
what is the best way to do that? Then go through organizations, right? And maybe like provide funds for these organizations, or is it better to send items? Because you're saying the items are not distributed well.
I think better send the money because sending help. For example, we do the same thing. We went to a village, Timuçin. We got lots of stuff. Most important, we get food, but then we get underwears, we got t-shirts. But when you go there, for example, a couple coming, oh, I have a 3-year-old kid. Do you have underwear for 2-year-old? But we bought for 5 years old or 10 years old. So I think better send money to an organization and they decide what they needed.
I got you.
Because
Okay.
sending items doesn't help much except food.
And obviously, these cities had to be rebuilt. But before then, like, what is the state in right now? Like, what is the stage there? And they're getting rid
Right
of all
now,
the rubble.
yeah, now they are cleaning the rubbles. I think like I can say 60% is cleaned in some cities. But as I told you, Antakya, Marash, Malatya, the damage is so big. So it's still going on. But I think in 2 months, they will clean all the rubbles. But the most problem is even the buildings which are now staying, they seem safe. They are all damaged too.
Yeah.
So I think everything has to be replaced and new stay has to be made.
And I mean, how are the people? I mean, you were physically there. How? I mean, obviously there's shock, and I'm sure there's a lot of sadness. I mean, what is the overall mood? It's hard to judge from. I mean, it's hard to imagine, first of all, and it's kind of hard to judge from so far away.
Actually, human body is human brain is very, very interesting. When you realize the situation, you don't get so sad. You know what I mean? Because everybody's in the same condition.
Okay.
So I don't know how they explain this in the psychology, but when I went to the first earthquake, it was the same. People were under the shock, but they don't care really much. They think like they are in a dream. They don't want to wake up. So I see the same thing here. Like, I think people really, you don't realize it when it happens or after a week or something. The pain and the sorrow comes later on. Because right now everybody's in the same condition, so you cannot realize yourself.
I see what you mean.
I think that's the problem here.
And I think, I remember like going to Istanbul after the earthquake that was in Istanbul. And,
Yeah.
I had not been in Turkey for so long. And that was the first time like my wife was there. And we talked about, I was telling like everybody was over the top nice compared to normal. It's a big city, right? People make fun of New York and stuff like that. Istanbul can be like that too. And we always talk about hospitality, but let's face it, especially hospitality is usually to the tourists, not amongst ourselves. So I remember when I went there, it was like everybody was so much nice, because I think something like this brings the realization that life is very fragile and you should be nice to each other.
Yeah.
As well.
That's very true. That's very true. Even me now, I realize after I see that places, then you realize how lucky you are,
Yeah.
the things you have, and you don't worry about certain things. I don't know. It's a very interesting experience. I think one of the person who live it can really describe what it is. It's very difficult for us.
You drove down there, which is, commendable. That you guys just basically literally handed them the supplies, because it's a tough way to get there. First of all, like I said, we were texting back and forth, and I think it's probably not even in Istanbul. You can kind of imagine the devastation there until you are physically there and seeing it. That's
true. It's a long way. It's almost like we drove like 2,500 kilometers return. It was the easy way. But what I was surprised, for example, we went to the villages, we gave them food boxes, and they just take one, and they asked me to give the other one, the other 10, because they didn't take it, which is a nice thing.
That is nice.
Because some people must say, we were scared that they will attack us, or try to get all the things.
Mm-hmm.
But it never happened. It was really good organized. So people are really nice about that way.
So
Because they
what do
know
you
that they
guys?
need the situation.
So what are you guys planning to do now moving forward? Like the supporter club, do you guys have stuff lined up that maybe we can promote over here too and talk
Yeah,
about it?
next week I think we will make another van. But this time I talked to one of my friend who is a psychology like therapist in Urfa,
Mhm.
and they are looking after kids, and kids are the most affected from this earthquake. And believe me, they have nothing as a kid. You know, no playing, no TV, no cartoons, nothing. So what we're gonna do? They will ask us what they need, like toys, reading books, painting books. I think we will make a van full of it and send it to Urfa so they can deliver to the kids.
Yeah, that is a really nice thought because
Yeah.
it's I think as an adult maybe it's a bit easier to understand the scope and be
Yes.
thankful for what, at least surviving it and stuff like that.
Yes.
But I can imagine the shock of a kid, not to mention, I mean, almost every kid over there lost a relative in this.
Yeah. Lost relative, lost friends, lost somebody, and they don't know what is losing.
Yeah.
And they just saw it directly in one night.
Yeah,
So
that's just terrifying. That's
yeah, I
just
think
heartbreaking.
we will see the effect of this on these kids when they grow up, maybe 10, 15 years later.
Yeah, that's so difficult. Yeah, as I
Right.
think about it more, that is so difficult because it's hard to explain to a kid to any kind of death, like
Yeah.
even if it's a great grandmother, it's hard to
Yeah.
explain that. So explaining something like this is an
Because
impossible task.
the kid will not understand the developer, a builder, the structure of a building, why it collapsed, why our house damaged, why not the others. It's
And
really
there's a
hard.
lot going on with that right now, right? I was just talking to my brother in terms of a lot of these architects or
Yes.
engineers or whatever kind of cutting corners, which really caused a lot of the loss of life.
The thing is now everybody's focused on the builders, but nobody talk about the people who signed those
The
things, like
inspectors, yes.
inspectors or the government or the municipality. Nobody goes after this. If you don't, how can I say, punish them, this will always happen, I think, in Turkey, and it's always happening.
Yeah.
I am 50 years old, and I already saw 5 big earthquakes in Turkey, and nothing changed. First year talking, then the next year nothing happens. No control, nothing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because it's people who are, I mean, somebody's cutting corners, but somebody's
Yes.
letting them cut those corners. So
Yes.
it's, it has to be, those people have to be gone after as well. So we are going to be doing this fundraiser. I mean, it's like a process we're starting
Thank
right
you very
now.
much.
I want to
Thank you.
send as much as possible because I think that's important to understand, Tahir, that every little bit makes a big impact. Even
Of
if you're
course.
just sending $5, if everybody, like, it goes to the old adage that if everybody sends $5, it's a lot of money, but every little help is a boost to that area.
It is. Everything really helps. Even a kid, like we give a ball and you should see the happens on their eyes.
Yeah.
Or something, or a small toy, it will change everything. Because they see it as still as a game.
That's sad. I mean, I think, the more we talk about the kid aspect of it, I think it's, it almost makes you forget the other side that is also as devastating. But yeah, I can only imagine. But Tahir, man, thanks a lot for joining. Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
what you guys do. And we will
Thank you.
definitely do our best to help all we can over here at American Scouts. Thank you so much.